Hey everyone, so this is a very quick update to the investigation from Sunday on London Real and David Icke. I'm busily working on a few other bigger pieces about kind of the wider issues about free speech, accountability. So I don't want to end up doing like daily updates about what's going on. But the David Icke interview happened on Sunday and I think it's worth updating what happened. And there's some really interesting stuff, quite amusing stuff actually. So if you haven't seen the investigation, go and check it out. This will help make a lot more sense. And also there's a deeper story here of sort of, we've talked on the channel before about collective intelligence, sort of networks of collective intelligence. And that they are kind of stepping up. I've been contacted by dozens of people, I'd say, since I put out the investigation, kind of online open source detective stuff, which is really great. I almost put something out on the day of the interview about this. I didn't, for that reason. I didn't want to get kind of involved in like a blow by blow. But Brian Rose, the interviewer on London Real, have been putting out for days how the Icke interview is going to be at a secret location. He was worried they might get raided. He put out this one on the day from the secret bunker.
Okay, we are literally in the bunker here. I'm about to head in and start this broadcast soon with David Icke. Kind of have our whole crew that's been set up here, making sure everything happens in the background, and just wanted to make sure we had a lockdown place, so didn't worry about anything stopping us. I mean, these days there's so many forces trying to make sure this broadcast doesn't happen.
So someone got in touch and said, hang on, this secret bunker looks a lot like the London Real building itself from this previous video.
All right, it is almost midnight here at London Real World Headquarters, and I'm walking out tonight at midnight, and I've been here since I think 8 a.m. and so I just wanted to give you a little taste of what it takes, of what you must do in order to be an entrepreneur.
Someone else sent me the floor plan for the building that London Real is in, so you can see the same typeface, and also this picture from the White Collar Factory brochure, which I will put in the show notes. If you look very closely, you'll see that S is actually the service floor, or the basement of the building. So I also want to update that in the investigation, I played a clip by someone who'd found out that the link to the independent digital freedom platform, just play the clip that shows that Brian Rose said that this was going to be independent of London Real.
The point is this is a separate entity that lives on past us, that is independently funded. So we don't draw any of this money. This is set up as an independent platform. So that has nothing to do with London Real.
So they discovered that when the digital freedom platform, which is inside the London Real website, was a plug-in for a film that was coming from the Dailymotion site. So for the Icke interview, it wasn't coming from Dailymotion, so I want to update on that. It seems to have been coming from a company called Decast, which is based in Silicon Valley, so it was paid for streaming. No idea how much it actually costs to stream from there. We don't know what the figures would be either. So yesterday, London Real put out this film called We Did It, over 1 million, love is the answer, but now we must prepare for war. I'm going to unpack this because it shows up so many of the issues that we're dealing with at the moment in the information ecology, but also in the wider culture. So Rose put out this about the studio and the funding campaign.
The truth is that I can't always tell you what's going on behind the scenes. I can't. So there were a lot of people questioning what we were doing and questioning the technology we were using. But the truth is that we've got a little controlled opposition out there, if you didn't notice, okay? We got people come the inside that don't have our best interests. So I gotta do a little head fake every now and then. I hope you guys appreciate that. And that means sometimes pretending we're using certain tech and using other technology, pretending we're going to one studio and going to another studio. Trust me, we're doing this for your protection, all right? This is so we don't get shut down and ruin your Sunday or ruin your messaging that could ruin your life. So every now and then we're gonna do something, and I just need you to trust me, is what I'm saying, all right?
Now, I'm assuming because a lot of people had noticed these details about the location and about the stream, he had to say something about it. But calling it a head fake is, I think, really, it's very interesting. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think that's a terribly smart thing to be telling people who've just given you money legally. Doesn't seem very wise to me. But we'll see what happens. But there's another really interesting angle to this that I want to focus on, I'll start by playing the clip from that film.
Honestly, now is when the war starts. Now, how can love bring us war? Well, there's going to be a lot of people that want to take us down. There's going to be a lot of people, and they're going to start with my reputation, the business, with London Real, with all of our stuff, and they're going to start pairing us together and saying nasty things about us that you're going to say, that can't be Brian. That can't be London Real. Well, guess what? They're going to start saying it. So we have to be strong. We have to be strong now and expect it. And that's what we're doing now. We're expecting it. But we need to make the army even bigger right now. We need to build, because we can see what's happening. Even though we've had the largest broadcast in human history of a conversation, that's not enough to show people we're doing something important. We're still going to fight. So we are here, in for the fight. Hashtag London Real Army has never been so strong.
So this is the most perfect example of what Venkatesh Rao has called the Internet of Beefs in this amazing article that he put out on Ribbon Farm a while ago. So I'll put the link in the show notes to follow it. It's a really smart examination of how exponential tech and the tech platforms, like the incentive structure of the tech platforms, have created what he calls the Internet of Beefs, which is this sort of degeneration into warfare, like online warfare, because it rewards that tactic. And he describes it like this. I'm going to read from the article. A beef-only thinker is someone you cannot simply talk to. Anything that is not an expression of pure, unqualified support for whatever they are doing or saying is received as a mark of disrespect and a provocation to conflict. From there, you can only crash into honor-based conflict mode or back away and disengage. So he compares it to crash-only programming in internet language. It's a beautiful, brilliant article because it also illustrates what is going on in the wider culture. I think at the moment we're talking about online warfare. I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think a lot of people who are kind of sounding the alarm are right to sound the alarm. So it basically shows how all of the tech platforms are kind of degenerating into this information warfare, all-out battle between those who are willing to play this game of knights and mooks. And he describes knights and mooks as the structure of the Internet of Beefs is shaped by high-profile beefs between charismatic celebrity knights, loosely affiliated with various citadel-like strongholds, peopled by opt-in armies of mooks. The vast majority of the energy of the conflict lies in interchangeable mooks facing off against each other, loosely along lines indicated by the knights they follow in innumerable battles that play out every minute across the Internet of Beefs. Now, high-profile examples of that, I would say Candace Owens. Have a look at her Twitter feed since the beginning of the pandemic. Very clearly playing that game, but the incentive structure rewards that game. That's the point. And on a deeper level, what this is, and we've put out quite a lot of films around this, it's the underlying source code of our current system, weaponized by exponential tech, is zero-sum thinking and is leading to self-terminating outcomes. And I think this is just being accelerated by all the dynamics that the pandemic is bringing up. It's weaponizing division, it's hijacking our limbic systems, it's optimizing for engagement, which means optimizing for passion rather than reason, all of those things. So like I said, we've talked about this on the channel quite a lot. I highly recommend going to check out the War on Sense-Making piece with Daniel Schmachtenberger, Deep Code with Jordan Greenhall, and the interview with Douglas Rushkoff. And I'll play a clip from that right now.
We are living with technologies that are intentionally designed to make us fearful, to make us panic, to put us back into our brain stem, to avoid our higher human thinking and even our mammalian thinking. And then sometimes we're trying to connect with other people over devices that are designed to make us hate and fear the other person, designed to addict us to the tech, designed to get us to interact with non-player characters, algorithms, rather than other people. And then we wonder why we feel bad. You know, if you live in a digital haunted house that's designed by Stanford behavioral engineers to make you hate, to make you fear, what do you think's going to happen? You know, it's just, and then you grow up in it as a child. I mean, What do you think's going to happen to those brains? What do you think's going to happen to those hearts?
Also check out Tristan Harris, who used to work at Google. He's got a TED Talk. He's kind of known now as the conscience of Silicon Valley because he has sort of been sounding the alarm for a while. So this sort of deeper question of how all of the most pathological forces of game A, like the present underlying source code of the system, are being accelerated under the impact of the pandemic is what I'm going to unpack properly in the next film. I don't see a good outcome for it. I think it's worse in America. I think we have some, especially in the information warfare space, I think we're in a slightly better position in the UK. I'll try and unpack why I think that is as well, because I think that's worth understanding. But the bigger question, and there's other questions I'll unpack as well, sort of some of the other criticisms of the investigation, it's like how we hold each other accountable without getting dragged into this same internet of beefs, zero-sum dynamic. So this kind of idea that we used to have, this idea of the Dunbar number. So the Dunbar number is 150 people in tribes, and Robin Dunbar at the University of Oxford basically found that usually groups would start to fractionate and divide when they got to 150 people. Looked through history, and that was basically the optimum tribal number. And the reason for that is, or one of the main reasons, is that they've become self-policing. Through gossip and through conversation about each other, you didn't create niches for sociopathic behavior to thrive, because you would be able to hold 150 people is about as many as you can personally know, and then be able to compute all of the different relationships between those people. So there's if you think about it, with the number of people, you get this sort of exponential linkage number of people. So it's not just knowing that many faces, it's also knowing all of the relationships between them. So you would have a self-policing system within the Dunbar number. As soon as we scaled our society up beyond that, what Jordan Hall has called the Blue Church, again, watch the Deep Code documentary to kind of understand his frame, which I think is the best, most interesting, most useful frame for understanding what we're going through. As soon as you scale that out, what you end up doing is creating niches for sociopathic behavior, and you actually start rewarding that sociopathic behavior. That's the worst thing, is that you've basically created a society that rewards screwing other people over, that actually writes it into the source code of the companies. As soon as you say, no, your role is only to maximize profit for your shareholders, you have no moral obligations to anyone else, that's, for me, the big picture situation that we're in right now, and that seems to be accelerating under the impact of the pandemic. So yeah, lots of other things to talk about in future films that I'm working on now, including the big question about the information ecology. I'm sort of putting out my take on it, specifically focused around Brian Rose, London Real, David Icke, because I think that's I think it's the most fascinating example of free speech, responsibilities, tech platforms, heavy-handed censorship, continuing and making the problem worse. But what could a system of accountability look like for the digital age? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. So we'll explore that in future films, and I'll talk to other people and see what they think. So, see you soon. Rebel Wisdom was set up to make sense of the world at a deeper level than the mainstream media. It was built for these times of crisis and change, which is why we want to do what we can to meet the challenge of the times. More films, and also for our Rebel Wisdom members, weekly sense-making calls with our amazing interviewees. And also, we're introducing the Wisdom Gym, a place to practice some of the skills that we've talked about on the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.